I just hit it just now,
Okie dokie.
so I
It
don't
is
think.
1:03. I'm just finishing up my. I still look like a ghost. That's why my camera's
I haven't
not
even
on.
ground my fucking coffee. I was
Oh,
sleeping until 12 something.
oh, so
And
was it like a late night like filming kind of
no,
session
I
thing?
got
Oh,
home at like, well, I mean, it was a 14-hour day. It was 6 o'clock a.m. to 7:30 before travel time. But then you factor in it's like almost an hour drive both ways, right? We get paid for travel time, but it's only a certain percent. So like it was like a 40-minute trip, I want to say, or like 45 minutes. And so we got paid for like 24 minutes sort of deal. So we get paid for our travel time, but there's
that's
like
good.
it's if you go past like a certain zone sort of
Like a
deal. So like
threshold.
if you yeah, because like if you're within Toronto and you're filming around a studio and it's in like, let's say it's in zone one, then they
Mm-hmm.
don't pay you travel time because you're expected to get to work just like any other fucking job, right?
Right.
Reasonable. But when they expect you to drive 2.5 hours to the middle of nowhere in like London, Ontario, they're paying you for it.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say some of
it's
these like filming locations are very bizarre and remote and
remote.
hard to get to.
Yes. In fact, most filming locations are bizarre. Not
Yeah,
all of them are remote, but a lot of them are fucking weird.
just bizarre spots. That'd be a really cool job being like the person that like scouts out the locations. Shit.
That is what I am working up to. That's
Oh,
like
so
the
that's kind
next
of your
step on my
goals.
career path.
Nice, nice.
And so the person who got me into the industry, God, I guess we're starting off talking the episode about film. The person who got me in the industry started doing LSP work at the same time.
Hmm.
I'm not going to name names because I like to keep my work and private life separate.
Fair.
But like she helped me apply to the GAP program, which is Guild Apprenticeship
Hmm.
uh, program. And then I got in, and she was in before me. And it was a really, really fucking busy summer last summer.
Hmm.
We maxed out the guild for how many locations people were available to work. Like, if
Wow.
you were in good standing and you had your name on the DGC list last summer, you were working, right? Because you were getting calls from pretty much every day. I had to turn down like at least 3 show calls just to take the one that I did, right?
Wow.
So there is a lot of work as long as you're willing to get into it. But fuck, I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, oh yeah, that was it. So because they needed somebody to location scout, and she's really competent, she's been trained by a lot of people who know what the fuck to do.
Hmm.
She's now a location scout slash ALM as well, because it's kind of a similar title. But she also does like LPA stuff with me
Oh,
because
cool.
film isn't one of those industries where you specifically like work up to a manager position and then only do that. Like if you're good, yes, you will, right? But when you're like learning the manager position, you might take one job as an assistant manager, and
Hmm.
then your next job is just as a production assistant again. And I say just as a production assistant, but production assistants get pretty frickin' involved, let me tell you.
Oh my god, there's like making a movie. There's so much shit involved
So
in
much
making a
to it.
movie. Even just like just making like a little project yourself, with some friends and
Yeah.
an iPhone, like a lot goes into that.
It is truly like a military operation.
Mhm.
Each department works like a wing of the military. They all communicate. You have like the top brass who come in and they do their scouting and reconnaissance on their tech surveys, and like then you come in on the day of and you've got a team, and like your team that you work with usually calls you back, because if you have a good reputation with them, why wouldn't they call you back?
Right,
Because
yeah.
like if you're working with somebody 80 hours a week, you better make sure that you can be around that person 80 hours a fucking
Yes.
week, right?
Yes. Very important.
And
Like the
I've been
people you work with.
incredibly blessed. Yeah, I've been incredibly blessed to have just like the best locations crew I could work with, in my opinion. I don't like we could bring more people into the crew who are great. And it's not like a statement against anybody outside of the crew,
Mhm.
but just like everybody in it is always so on the level, and our management knows what's up. And when the punches start coming and shit starts happening that's unexpected, like the stuff that I can't say since we're like
Mhm.
live now, um, it then like the good management just deals with it and has like backup plans or like makes it happen, you know?
Mhm.
Um, So yeah, I finished my apprenticeship.
Huzzah! Moving on up. I love it.
That's
I'm
awesome.
officially a film bitch. Thanks.
Living my film bitch chapter of my life.
You know, to quote my boss yesterday,
Hmm.
when I was picking up dog shit, and the only reason that dog shit picking up was
Necessary?
easy was because I had thought to bring a trash grabber ahead of time because I know that we often pick up, especially when outdoors. Turns out there's a lot of dog poo I needed to pick up, and as I was doing it, my boss says, the glamour of the film industry.
It's true.
God, I fucking love it, man. Holy. How's everybody doing though?
Good. I've been busy.
Real quick, Jay,
What's
just to
that?
jump in while you're saying that, happy
Yeah.
belated. I forgot to say happy birthday to you
Yeah,
yesterday. I was super
man. Happy
busy.
birthday.
Yeah, it's my birthday. I'm 32.
July,
I'm old.
August 15th, biatch.
Yes. 32. I'm gonna crumble into dust now. So
Oh, yours is they do.
no, I actually feel good. So like I used to be really depressed on my birthdays. I used to be really sad. I was a sad boy on my birthdays. Because for the longest time, it took me forever to get my driver's license, to get over the anxiety, and I was in my head about a lot of things regarding driving and acquiring my driving license. And as soon as you turn 16 in America, I don't know if the same push applies to Canada, but you're 16, or once you're able to get your driver's permit, you better get that damn license, or else you are really... People kind of bully you about it for some reason. I don't know why.
It happens up here too. But
Yeah.
it also depends on your peer group and your friends and your family, right?
Right, yeah.
I didn't need to get bullied into it. I was super excited to go get my learner's license as soon as I was 16. I've actually had my driver's license for as long as you could legally possess it. Like I took the test on the day of my 16th birthday. I passed, and then I always took my tests as quickly as they could be booked once I was done my completion period.
Yeah.
So like with the exception of like a day here or a day there for scheduling like the driver's tests and shit, I've been driving a very long fucking time, man.
Yeah. And just for me, like I never liked it. It never appealed to me, you know, so I just never enjoyed the act of driving. And so like, and I lived in the city, and so I just really didn't need a car for however many years. But anyway, so I think it was by my last birthday I finally got my license. And so like that's the thing that I've always beat myself up on, like, oh, it's my birthday, another year, I'm a piece of shit, blah blah blah. But now I'm like, okay, I have the license now. I was able to actually acquire that, so I have my license. So this is a birthday where I don't have to beat myself up about not reaching some particular milestone. And then my brain was like, but you don't own a house yet. And I was like, we're not doing that. We don't do that. No, it's my fucking birthday. Fuck you,
I
brain.
forgot my shirt. Boom. And that's how you do drag in 1 hour.
You're back. Welcome.
Hi,
but yeah.
beautiful people.
Hello. Yeah, it was a good birthday. I got a little played by Mother Nature. I'm a little upset. I like to file a complaint. It was supposed to thunderstorm all day yesterday here, and so I always try to go to like the Cherry Blossom Festival that happens on the same weekend of my birthday every year. And I was like, well, it's gonna thunderstorm, so let me not even... No outdoor activities on my birthday. Whatever. So me and Katie went out to breakfast. And then me, Katie, and Rue saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, because we went to check that out. It was actually cute. If anyone hasn't seen it yet or wanted to check it out, it was actually not bad. But
I don't know if anyone can tell my makeup is Bowser inspired because I just threw orange all over my face.
Oh, there you go. Or Gritty, you know, one of the...
Gritty.
You look like you went down on Gritty. I'm kidding.
Yes.
Nice.
No.
So yeah, like that's all we did. But like the rain was supposed to pour all day. All day it did not rain. It was cloudy, but like it just didn't rain and didn't rain and didn't rain. We walked out of the movie theater, it was sunny, and I was like, what the fuck? And then like randomly though, the weirdest fucking thing happened. Like I don't recall like any big storms moving through like was predicted yesterday. It rained at a couple points, but like no big storms moved through, except there was this one flash. I think it was just one lightning strike, and it struck somewhere around here. It was just like boom, and then you saw like the big huge flash, and that was it. It was really bizarre.
That is weird.
Or a bomb went off, and I don't know, but it was blue like lightning, so I don't know. I was like, was that someone like literally getting like
Well, I
smoted?
mean,
Like,
you live in Philly, so it's not unreasonable that it was an explosion.
right? Like people have blown up, like people blow up ATMs. You know, like you hear that shit. You know, like they try and do that kind of shit. But like, oh, what was the latest crime? It was the millions of dimes in a truck in a Walmart parking lot.
Yes.
Someone stole a bunch of dimes out of a truck.
Really?
Yeah, they stole like $200,000 worth of dimes.
Whenever
God.
someone says, "Did you hear about that recent crime?" my brain immediately jumps to, "You mean wage theft, right?" Because
That
they keep getting
too.
away with it. Nobody ever stops it.
No, because that's legal crime here in the United States of America.
That's just
Oh
called
yeah, you know, crime's
capitalism.
only illegal. I mean, let's just be real. Crime's only illegal if you're poor. Look at Trump. How much has that guy managed to fucking evade consequences for the actions of like the result of his own actions? You know what I mean? Like it's really a two-tier judicial system in all earnesty.
This is how it goes. Like in America, it's
Mhm.
like you commit a crime and they're like, "What's your net worth?"
Yep.
Before we proceed any further, what's your net
Literally.
worth? Can you write a check for this many dollars?
Yeah. The worst part is
So
it's not
here's the
even
question
funny. I
then:
hate laughing at it.
if you're gonna perform fraud, would it not be then best to defraud when they do that net wealth check? And you're like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm worth billions," and like, "Oh shit, we can't fuck with this girl."
Maybe.
Something tells me they'd know.
What were you saying, Scott?
I said it's sad to like laugh at it. Like I hate laughing because it's like it's so not funny, but it's funny. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like there's only thing left to
I
do is
have
laugh at it, but it's so
yeah.
depressing.
Mhm.
You know, there's a native phrase that I always come back to. I don't even think it's native, but I heard it from somebody who was. And if we don't laugh, we fucking cry.
hmm
So, yep, that's okay.
This is how you hit a vape with lipstick on.
You just hit a vape with lipstick on. That's how you do it. Don't worry if you smudge.
I do because I have
was-
very thin lips.
It's very precise.
Oh,
Very precise. I
This-
seriously, I just have to say, like, thank you to Alex who did my makeup 2 weeks ago, like in prep for the wedding, because I literally have learned my face so much better now, and like have fallen in love with makeup all over again because of her.
Shout out.
Y'all eloped or some shit.
Huh?
Did y'all elope or some shit?
No, well, I guess technically we did. We signed a marriage. Yeah, we were legally married in January of 2020 is when we
Yep.
signed our thing.
Yeah, you eloped.
Yeah, essentially. And then COVID happened and we were never able to have like a thing, and I was
a
like
proper ceremony.
I was like, I just like picked a date and I was like, we're doing the thing. It's been 3 fucking years. Let's just do the thing. And our friend has like a little nice little property that we're going to do it at. So we're doing like a whole wedding for like under $2,000. What's up?
Sick.
And
Yeah.
like seriously, like he's got his outfit, and my dress, even with alterations, was under $700, which is just insane for a wedding dress. And like I didn't even have to lie and say it wasn't a wedding dress because I bought it from a prom store. So
Right. So it's so funny to me. I don't know. I guess I have weddings on the brain because I'm also officiating a wedding May 1st, and so like it's like back to back. It's also the spring, and a lot of people get married in the spring, and so because I kind of have things like weddings and stuff on the mind, and like the I guess the stereotype, the trope of like I'm so stressed, I'm through this and this and that, and I'm like I'm okay, like it'll come together because it's a ritual like any other ritual we've done, you know, like everyone shows up, we put it together, and then everybody leaves, and that's how it works. So like I don't know, I just can't relate to like the I don't know, I guess sort of like the trope, the stereotype of like, oh my god, I'm so stressed, my wedding, and I'm like,
I really think that all that stress really comes from like putting way too much money. I feel like unnecessary amounts of money into a wedding.
yeah,
I mean, if you're dumping any like that amount of money into anything, of course you're going to be extra stressed about it. But I mean, I've always been one for like a simple thing. You know what I mean?
Pretty
I
good
like I've
example
always
of this too. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I've always been one for like I'd rather have money saved for like a really nice honeymoon
Mm-hmm.
than like a big extravagant, to do wedding.
Mm-hmm. We kind of did like we just booked like 2 nights in Atlantic City.
I was like, we're having a
Mhm.
cheap wedding and a cheap honeymoon because we're broke.
No, it wasn't even that. It's also we don't know how to fucking relax. So like once we hit 2 days at a place, we're like, okay, what else do we do?
So a good
Seriously.
example for what Scott was talking about is cars. You ever driven a car? Normally they're like 5
Every
to 20
day.
grand.
Right.
You probably won't pay more than 30 grand on a car unless you're really looking for a specific thing out of it, right?
Unless you're buying new, I guess.
Can you imagine how stressful it would be to have a car worth $100,000? You would
You
have
know
to
what?
have a special garage for it.
You
You would
would
have to be
think.
No.
careful about when you drive it.
Unless you live in
Seriously,
Philadelphia.
no, but seriously, a lot of
Yeah.
people who have nice cars don't park them on the fucking street, y'all. Like dead ass,
Unless
they
you
don't.
live
They
in
get
Philly.
carjacked and
Yeah,
smashed.
I think it really depends though, because like I don't fucking understand because this
You're
dude.
not gonna park a Porsche on this street.
Yeah.
You are. You're gonna park a B. I have a race car out front of my house right now that's probably valued about 100 grand.
Like there's like some pimped out Mustangs like just parked right on the street.
Okay, but anecdotes aside, most people who
Most
buy
people, yes,
expensive cars
have a
treat
special
them with
place.
respect, right? You're not gonna buy something that's $100,000 to $200,000 and just like not stress about it. Have you actually seen how
Maybe.
rich people act around their cars? Have you?
Yes.
Yo, you fucking scratched it! Like they're
Yeah.
But
I've had
they.
a
9,000
gun
about
pulled on
stress
me
and
for
anger, right?
getting too
That's my
close.
exact point.
Mm.
That's my exact point. People who get expensive stuff get stressed about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a fucking car, whether it's a fucking McMansion that they paid too much money for, whether or not it's a reasonably sized house that the housing market gouged the ever living fuck out of them. That person's going to be stressed as all get out when it comes to dealing with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my sister bought a house and it's not even an expensive house in comparison with other ones, right?
But every little thing
And
is a stressor about it.
every little thing's a stressor. And like there's no weather stripping on the back door. There
Mm.
isn't. And I told the husband that and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, there's weather stripping, there's that plastic strip." And it's like,
You're
"Homie,
like,
I'm a
bro.
carpenter. I'm telling you, the wind is blowing through your door right now. You have a centimeter of frost on that plastic flange. It is not fucking weather stripped,
Yeah.
okay?" But like just the stress around it makes people not want to like deal with it, right? So like it makes sense that if you're putting on a wedding that's like 80 or $100,000,
Right.
it's not something permanent like a car that you can show in 10 years and say, "Look at how I've treated it," or "Look at how its value is appreciated." It's an ephemeral event that you have very little control over because there's a lot of people that come to be a part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could not imagine a situation more stressful than actually having a banquet wedding, to be honest.
Yeah, having like a big to do like that, and I think that's my whole thing. Is I was like, the smaller we keep it, the less stressful it will be. Then you don't have to worry about all this
I
other
was
stuff.
looking at the sorry to I was looking at the Facebook event and we're realizing like we'll be lucky if 20 people are at our
Yeah.
ceremony.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's literally
Mm.
going to be the circle and my mother's.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
My sister.
And his sister.
Pretty much.
It's
Yeah.
Be fun. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it was just funny what you were saying about cars, Sophia, because there's been this like trend in Philly, like people are buying cars and just leaving
really nice
like
cars
like
and not treating
Porsches
them
and shit.
nicely. And it breaks my heart.
Yeah, they just park them on they double park them, like get out of it, just like do all kinds of shit. They also drive them like absolute fucking twats. Like they just don't know how to drive. But yeah, it's wild out here. But there is a whole race car on my block. There's like some like beautiful fucking pimped out green Mustang that's just
Yeah,
like chilling.
people with nice cars will street park if they have to, right? But like,
Yeah.
why I say you don't just street park it is because leaving a nice car exposed to the elements destroys its exterior, right? Like you need to wax it, you need to wash it, you need to take care of it. It's okay if you street park it temporarily, but you're not going to buy something that expensive and leave it long term stored outside where it's exposed to the elements where your brakes can fucking rust. You know what I mean?
You would
It's just
hope
not
not.
happening.
Yeah.
You can't, otherwise you destroy it, right? Like I had a car and I did that to it. I left it outside in Vancouver for about a year without fucking driving it. I destroyed my brakes on it.
Mm-hmm.
When my brakes failed, it was like my caliper, the thing that's supposed to pinch down, fucking rusted right off, and it was the pins that pushes that in that was breaking for me.
Ugh.
Like I'm telling
Scary.
y'all, you do not leave a nice car outside for a year, just
No.
fucking sitting there.
Pro tip: if you can afford a car at this point, consider yourself lucky.
Drive it and take care
and
of
also
it.
drive it.
Drive it responsibly.
This is why we
Even if
need
it's
broomsticks. Or
to be honest,
broomsticks.
this is why we need affordable mass transit.
Yes. Yes.
And not just affordable, but punctual. Because affordability does us nothing if we can't reach our jobs on time without it.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't care about that in the North American continent. I think it's because it's too big. I don't want to say too big, but maybe because it is so big in comparison to.
I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. Rich people don't want to pay money into an infrastructure that they feel like they don't get anything out of.
Well,
so that's
yeah,
why you have
also
very
that.
basic amenities like power, internet, and water always running, but you never have things that actually improve the lives of others who are below a certain threshold, right? Because it's a oligarchy that we live in, and a few people control the levers of society. Like look up the companies BlackRock and Vanguard if you want to be mad about how much two companies can own, because they own shares in basically fucking everything. If you've existed, you've paid money to BlackRock.
Oh
basically.
yeah, they are the real Illuminati, like for sure. Rue is cracking up. There's a funny story regarding BlackRock. Rue's dying.
Go for it.
No, I am all too well aware of the rabbit hole that I have gone down when it comes to BlackRock and Vanguard, which is actually two companies that I work for. I provide contractors to them and collect money from. It's the worst.
It's a fucking
company.
deep cave that goes into like the guts of the earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny that you say that, because every time I think about the game Deep Rock Galactic, which I enjoy very much, I call it Black Rock Galactic in my mind. And I say Black Rock Galactic. And I'm like, I know that is incorrect. But the two are so closely interlinked. That is my anecdote.
But
fun fact, BlackRock owns a big stake in Amazon, and therefore we're actually providing them money by streaming on Twitch right now.
There is no ethical consumption under capitalism.
That's not necessarily true. I think that building guillotines is ethical consumption.
I don't disagree.
Do you intend to eat them afterward in ritual cannibalism?
No, because cannibalism is the greatest taboo in Cree culture. However, I'll tell you what we can do. Fertilizer. Just fertilizer.
I saw a Facebook post or like an ad or some video or whatever.
Compost the Rich is the true answer.
It was human composting.
That is the true answer.
Compost the Rich.
Actually, yes, we've made a new hashtag. Nope, that's it. That's our brand hashtag, Compost the Rich.
Compost the Rich.
We're not going to eat them. We're not cannibals, but we're certainly going to compost them.
Yes. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Recycle.
The rich.
But leave the bones for me, for my dark rites of necromancy.
Yeah.
Of course.
Just
why, so you can trap their so you can trap their souls in eternal torment like they fucking deserve.
Exactly, and enslave them to my services as I live, and then give them to my family, so they're basically familiar spirits to all my witch friends forever.
I feel like you put a lot of thought and preparation
we all live
into
happily
this.
ever after.
You hear that, Ronald Reagan? We're coming for you.
I unfortunately think about stuff like that, just like to entertain it in my own mind, way too often.
Look, I had a realization the other day. Growing up in a society that is inherently violent.
Mm.
And you picking up violent traits from it
Mm.
doesn't mean anything inherent about you at all, actually, right? We
It means a
should
lot to me,
live in a
Sophia.
world.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should live in a world where none of us ever have to do an ounce of harm, where we live cooperatively, where we don't have a currency system and we just share what we have amongst each other. But we don't got that. We have a system where people on top exert more power than has ever been historically amassed to abuse and destroy the lives of countless people without any consequences. So having violence imparted into you as a response to that system is actually a healthy coping mechanism. Not to say if you carry on the system and impart violence onto others, right? But utilizing that said violence to take the system itself down is a healthy fucking coping mechanism, right? You don't walk into a war against like fucking Nazi Germany and just say, hey y'all, have you thought about letting those people out of those death camps? Not to say that we even fought the war because of fucking Jewish people in death camps, because people didn't even know until post.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
beside the
That
fact.
was not the reason we went to war.
That's not the reason. But point being, you wouldn't try and talk down Nazi Germany when they're running the blitzkrieg across Europe. You can't talk down a billionaire who is invested in the destroying of the planet and the lives of other people as his main source of capital, right? You have to utilize some level of violence against people acting on a violent way. It is a fundamental fucking law of nature, and I don't care what anybody says. That finger wagging morality was invented by the cunts on top of this planet right now to tell all of us on bottom that we shouldn't do any of that violence, that we're better than that, right? Well, I'll tell you who's not better than that. Anybody who's ever had to live, because anything you've eaten has been alive at one fucking point, be it an animal or a fucking plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you, nothing comes without cost, and we are all complicit. And the more that we think that total nonviolence is achievable, the more violence is imparted onto the entire population. And that's my TED talk.
Yeah, because things just kind of get swept under the rug. You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
or we just accept. So there's this woman that ran for president on the Democratic ticket. Her campaign did not succeed well. But apparently she's making another go of it. Even though Biden has announced that he is going to run again, so I don't know how that's going to pan out. But anyway, so she's running again. Her name is Marianne Williamson.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And like she like, as far as I know, like, she was born into a Jewish family, and then she kind of converted to Christianity, and then she did this kind of sort of like Course in Miracles thing that she talks about. And then she ended up writing a bunch of, like, I guess, spiritual books or spiritual self-help type books, right? And then she's like running for president. So I was like, you know what? Let me check out her books before I start making a bunch of assumptions about this lady, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got a couple of her books from the library. The one that I've read through was The Divine Law of Compensation. It was all about like money and like attracting wealth and like prosperity into your life. And like, if you read it at face value, she says God. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you this idea of you have to surrender yourself to God. You have to surrender yourself to the motions that God's plan is, right? But as I was reading it, I was like, if you just substitute the word God where she uses God, and you just put in whatever higher power it is that you believe in, it kind of makes sense. So it was like this idea of like leaning into things versus trying to like ego and logic your way into making them happen. And it was kind of this idea of like, you know, leaning. I kind of likened it into like, you have to lean into the magic that you're putting out into the world. Like, you can't like you can't work against the magic that you're trying to attract to yourself. And sometimes people do that, you know, like that whole like self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, if you think you're not worthy of something, like if you don't think you're worthy of wealth, but you're doing all this money magic, well, it's not going to come to you, you know? And so she was kind of like, it was, I guess at face value, it could seem a little hokey. It could seem like the idea of like, just manifest whatever you want and it'll happen. And it's like, not necessarily is what she's saying. Because she even makes the point in the book. She was like, okay, so I'm sure you're probably thinking, people in third world countries that live off of $1 or some change a day, all they have to do is just think wealthy thoughts and they'll be wealthy. And she's like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that poverty doesn't have to exist. Poverty exists because we allow it to exist. Like, we collectively as a species, like humanity, we allow poverty to be a thing. And so we as a species have to undo the things that we have set down already. Like, we just have to kind of like retrain ourselves. Life doesn't have to be suffering. Like, we're all put on this planet to succeed, to build something, to live, to whatever life is, right?
Mm,
It gets back to the meaning of life, right? We're put on this earth to do
you,
something, whether that's just build something or just exist and live. And so
hmm
I don't know. I was just kind of vibing with what she was saying. I don't necessarily agree with all of her thoughts, but
Yeah.
I get it, the gist of what she
I
was saying.
I on some level do believe that life is suffering. And I believe that
Really?
it's not a binary of suffering, right? I don't think that being alive is just suffering, right?
Hmm.
But tell me a single life that comes without pain.
Right.
The pain of childbirth, the pain of death, the pain of sickness, right? The
Hmm.
pain of isolation, the pain of trauma. Like we all go through pain,
Hmm.
right? The point in the saying life is pain is not to minimize or maximize it, but to cultivate an attitude that understands, hey, um, you might you might find more benefit in understanding that you're going to suffer and that it's not something that you did intrinsically wrong.
Right.
It's kind of an inherent factor in life, right? So I don't like to be I really don't like black and white thinking of like life is purely this or that,
Hmm.
but it sure does contain a lot of pain, you know.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. And I think the other point that she was saying, she was like, the universe is naturally self-correcting. So, like, her sort of philosophy is that the universe wants everything within it to succeed in some way. Plants are to be
Hmm.
alive and then reborn, and then, like that cycle of birth and death. Like, the universe wants everything to do okay, because why else would it have put you there, right?
Yeah, I get where that's coming from. I
Mm-hmm.
think that, I mean, nature itself is self-advancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems
Hmm.
to self-correct. So sure, I can vibe with that absolutely. I mean, I know who you're talking about. I actually didn't know she wrote books.
Yeah, she's got like
Yeah.
16 books out. It's a lot of books out.
I was listening to her have an interview. I saw like a snippet of it on TikTok, and I was actually really impressed by her ability to sort of hold down this particular conversation. I really
Mm-hmm.
don't remember much of it, but I do remember kind of because whenever I listened to her before, she always sounded a little, you know, very
Manifest your
fifth
dreams.
dimension,
Yeah.
to me,
Yes.
and I was
Oh
like, that's
God!
not really.
Anytime I hear fifth dimension, that is a fucking red flag.
Vibrate your way to
Yeah, I
success.
run away.
Yeah.
But I was
No,
very
it's
impressed with her politics. Um, you know what it is like I have this I guess I want to call it like a gun shyness now where
Mm.
I don't even give a damn if like like an actual witch went up there and was like the witch's devil and like started like I wouldn't like it. It's gonna not land in the way that I think
It
that they
needs
wanted
to.
to. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear about. I don't care like what your philosophy about spirituality is.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I care about what are your politics? What are you going to do for the least of us? What are you going to do for the people that need help? What are your plans? Um, so whenever I hear her, I do get a little, and people are like, I don't know if my vote will be her or not, but I'm going to listen to her throughout the coming election,
Mm.
I'm going to listen. I'm not like shutting her out because that's also ridiculous, right?
Right.
But she can come off as a little hokey, but she did kind of impress me with her ability to hold down a conversation about politics in general. So that was kind of impressive, and give credit where credit is due. So I'm definitely going to be paying attention to her.
I did
I think
grab
she has.
one of her books is about
Who the
politics
fuck
in
y'all talking about?
America.
You can't talk about somebody this much without talking about the name.
Marianne
Oh.
You said her
Williamson.
name at the beginning.
Yeah,
Marianne
Oh, I
Marianne
totally missed
Williamson.
it.
All good.
I must have
Yeah.
fucking been toggling mute when I did that.
All good. This is a
All good.
podcast full of neurodivergent people. It's all good. Yeah, Marianne Williamson. Yeah, she does have a book about like American politics and stuff. So I'm assuming like that's her philosophy view on politics and stuff. So that's I
cool.
think that's going to be the next book that I read, because like I want to say that she's going to do well. I want to, but I don't think so. But I think it's worth.
That
Oh, that was the bookshelf expanding.
That was the goblin that lives in the bookshelf that randomly knocks sometimes.
No, it's the wood expanding. It's humid. But I don't know. She seems really fucking interesting, so I'm going to. My sister thinks she's kind of kooky, but
I mean, say,
she is a little kooky, but
the problem with the appearance of Marianne Williamson is every time if you do a Google search, the first thing that comes up is that she is a self-help guru. It doesn't say that she is an author. It doesn't say that she has a PhD. It doesn't mention any of her, and
accomplishments.
It's very hard to find that information. And if people think she's wacky, people think she's kooky, like people think like, but if you actually like take the time to actually read about her past and read her works, you're like, oh, like she thinks universal consciousness can change the world. And like that's kind of what his sister was mocking.
Yeah, like the idea of like unified prayer, you know what I mean? Like a bunch of people focusing on one intent, can influence.
I've heard that.
Life.
So I kind of want to steer this because I initially thought we were talking about like somebody who is a new age writer.
No.
Because the whole belief system of like you can transpose exactly what one person says is God with like other different energy systems, and it fits 1-to-1. That's like basically new age in a nutshell. It's like, hi, I'm a middle-aged white woman who just left my Christian upbringing. I need a religion that's similar and allows me to feel plugged in without actually giving me specifics. Or like if you take a lot of new age shit and you just replace the word source with God, it's identical, know?
Right.
No, she's not a new age writer. I guess they market her as a self-help
She
guru.
has a whole book called Illuminata from like the 80s.
Yeah, so
like,
she's been around for a
while.
while.
This lady has been plugged into the universal consciousness since before we existed.
I just think it's a little sad, like when someone comes through with a different opinion, a different way of thinking. Like all she's saying is, let's come from life from a place of love and compassion versus have not, fuck you, we're different. Like I guess that's like her main message, right? Come from a place of compassion. Like for example, like we're like also in Philly, we're going through our mayoral primary. We're gearing up for that. So there was like 7 candidates or something. So we actually ended up watching the debate. All of them are pro cop except one. This Asian woman.
Jew. Surprise.
What?
It's Philly. I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, even Rebecca Reinhardt, as a Jewish woman, she's still pro cop. No, it was Helen Gim, the Asian woman that's running. I loved it. Everyone was like, "We're gonna give more money to the police. We're gonna put more police on the streets, and we're gonna have consequences, and everyone's gonna get punished." And Helen Gim said, "I'm going to create after-school programs and more job opportunities for people, and I'm going to put trained mental health first responders on the fucking streets of Philly." Thank you, mic drop.
She's getting my vote.
Yeah. And guess what? Everyone hates her. Ooh, who's surprised?
It's Philly.
You want to know something funny? You can also tie people trying to use like crime scares as like a campaign promise,
They're all
almost
doing it.
explicitly to conservatism. Although like Democrats do it as well, which is why the two-party system is kind of dog shit, because it's not like there is a true left representation. You know
No.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's a really conservative control tactic, right? Like I saw somebody post something on Facebook here, and it was like attacks or assaults on the TTC are up, and the TTC is our subway system, Toronto Transit Commission, right? And it was like, what's going to be done about all of this crime? And I'm like, this is a political ad campaign, isn't it? And it watches like a shock video where people are trying to show you all the shit that's happening in your town that you're not noticing. But then at the end, it's paid for by like a conservative fucking constituent. And you're like,
Right.
see, I knew it. Like, if you actually look at who's paying for that shit, very often conservative people want people to think that crime is worse than it's ever been. And it's not.
Like, I don't know what it is like up in Toronto. I mean, like, I know in Philly, like, it's pretty violent around here.
Sure.
Like, you know, like we got a bad gun problem in America, and that just goes with, like, that's just fact.
There is
Nobody
1.3
outside of
guns
America
for every
understands what
American.
American crime is like, because America is a special blend of fucked up, and nobody, like, y'all, when you invite me to America to come visit, I'm like, thanks, but I'd rather not get shot, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, it's way more dangerous than a lot of people actually mentally acknowledge, you know? Like,
But it's
it's
also
hard when you live. Go ahead.
it's also not as
Right.
dangerous. Like, I walk around the city all the time, and I'm kind of an easy target. I'm fat and slow, and I waddle, and I'm weird looking, and you know,
Visibly
like
queer.
that too. And I there's a lot of weird stuff that happens, and mostly like the weirdest thing that occurs here is our astronomically disproportionate homelessness issue that we have, and the vast majority of
Drugs.
them are severely mentally ill. Um, and you know, sometimes I don't want to call it heckle you, but they'll get interested in you, and they want to talk, or they want to ask you for something, or you kind of get wrapped up in whatever delusion or
Whatever they're going through.
hallucination that they're having at the moment. But generally speaking, they're nonviolent, and they've never touched me, they never harmed me. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, I know that, and I'm not saying that it's not true that
The
we are
numbers, like, straight up support it.
statistically right. But the problem with, okay, so right. But the problem with that is the fact that you're talking about we're talking about like the average life here.
Yeah.
Statistics are looking at like we're you know, statistics chart overall occurrences, right? They're not mapping out the personal lives of other people. They also, too, if you go further and further, statistics break down further and further in. So, you know, you have to look at where and when, right? You know,
A lot of it's not like a lot of it's not random too. A lot of it is like there's
I'm still
groups
gonna
of
be real,
people
though.
infighting with each other, and then they take it out, and they go to people's neighborhoods, and you know, and then they have problems with each
But
other.
like shit like that just doesn't happen here.
Right.
Like I know, I hear what you're saying, but
Mhm.
I don't have to deal with any of that.
Mhm.
Like
right, and I get that, but I'm
it's the
saying is like I don't want. I also at the same time, it's like we know how to be careful in our city. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, and the thing is, it's like we're not.
You don't have to wear a bulletproof vest in America to go to the grocery store.
not what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying
You
is
do have to send your
understanding
kids with
American
bulletproof
crime
backpacks, though.
School
as an
is an issue.
outsider
Yes, I agree.
is terrifying. Like that. Like y'all live in a culture that's so fundamentally different from a lot of us that
Mhm.
we don't want to even take that chance. I don't know anybody in all
Right.
of Canada who's been impacted by gun violence or had to do an active shooter drill to the same level that Americans have,
Yeah,
right?
agree.
I like the Pulse shooting, for example.
Mhm.
Like the biggest shooting I can say in Canada that I can remember in recent history was a racially motivated one that happened in Quebec. Yeah. But like in comparison to how often it happens in the States, y'all, it is staggering, and the rest of the world is terrifying. Just
Absolutely.
saying, right?
Yeah, I
Like
can
I know
understand
that you
why people
haven't
wouldn't want to
like
come here.
been targeted on a personal level, and
Mhm.
I'm not saying people should be afraid who live in the States, right? But like to
Oh,
people
you
who
should
are
be
outside of it,
terrified.
but to people who are outside of it, it's really scary, and we're not really, a lot of us aren't so ready to just jump into it. Like, there are people who are like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm gonna go to America, and that's okay, you know, but like, I
and that's,
sure
I
as
mean,
fuck don't feel safe.
me saying that, by the way, was not for me to be like, like to say that you're wrong or you're wrong to have your feelings. I mean, that's obviously totally valid, right? Um, I was just trying to make a point that, like, I'm not like, as I know, how do I put this? The vast majority of us are not ducking bullets every day.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
It's
I
not an
understand
active
that.
war zone in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
But
I
Sometimes it
don't
can
want us
feel
to
like it.
I don't want us to overly horribilize what is a true problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to
yeah,
not look at it objectively and to sort of create fear. It's one of those things where it's like, uh, I don't know, and I guess I maybe have a little bit of feelings about it, and it's not from you. It's just from things I've seen, other conversations I've seen from people from all over the world, and it's
Mm.
like when Americans tell you what it's like, you can have your outsider opinion, but y'all aren't from here.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
we know what it's like, you don't. Just like we don't know what it's like to live in other places, but America also has a problem where we like to tell other people about themselves and we don't
Out
understand cultural norms from other places. But
Mm.
it works
and
both ways. Everyone does that, and it's a problem no matter which way it goes.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is not that, like, and I said Americans shouldn't be like afraid of living in America. Like, it's not like I'm saying hold fear about it, but I
Right,
specifically
totally.
said from a outsider perspective, it does feel like a war zone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we see the
Right.
numbers, we see the news, and we are scared shitless. And that point still stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will not go to America because I don't feel safe there. I see what's
Totally.
happening with the laws with transgender people. I see all of my friends wanting to flee the country. I hear them like talking to me in my TMs about how they fear for their lives. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's a lot. And as an outsider, again, I don't want to visit, right?
Which is
It's truly
that's
scary.
yeah, no, that I understand that, like, the way I also think that my roommate Christian, he has a big problem with a lot of media in general. And I also think, like, and don't get me wrong, like, it's like there's a lot of reasons to want to leave the States.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of them myself for all the reasons that you've mentioned. And I just, I don't know, maybe I'm an idealist, maybe I ridiculously hold on to hope for too long, but um I don't know. I'm not, I mean, things are different here. I'm not saying that things haven't changed. People don't smile in Philly anymore.
Mm.
We used to smile at each other. No one smiles. Things are different, but I've been going out more recently and getting outside and kind of, swallowing down all the fears that I've mentioned previously. And I don't know, things are as bad and not as bad as what I think. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about the statistics. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because the statistics are accurate. The
Just
problem
local
here is
neighborhood vibe.
real. Right, right.
It
The
sounds like you're responding to more so what a lot of other people have said than what I have said, right? Because my statement was, as an outsider, it feels like a war zone looking
Mm-hmm.
from the statistics, and we don't want to go there,
Right, right,
right? I'm not
right.
making statements at all about America, its hope, its future, or any of that. And in fact, I'm quite a hopeful person, right? But
Mhm.
I understand why it's a very charged argument or discussion, and
Mm.
why you would want to immediately go to that place, right?
What were you gonna say, Rue? I think you were gonna say something.
um no, I was just to back up what um Scott was saying. Um they have actually opened the borders of Canada for trans refugees. Having an
Mhm.
X on my license, which I just renewed yesterday, and having an X on my passport automatically makes me illegal in half the fucking world. I am acutely aware how my own state is passing laws to invalidate my existence.
Wait, what's P?
Pennsylvania has a genitalia check law that
On the
has been
books?
passed for high school sports.
Oh.
We are sexually assaulting children to make sure they're not trans.
Yeah, this is why people are afraid of America right now who aren't in it.
And
Right.
I get that.
Yeah,
I
I absolutely
it
get that
is
because, like,
terrifying.
just even from, and I always say this about America. America's problem is we're 50 different fucking countries trying to unite under
That is
one
a factor,
fucking country.
especially
Because,
the Southwest and the
right,
Southeast.
every state has their own fucking specific law that overrides a federal law or is an exception to a federal law. And I'm like, but isn't federal law the law of the land? And then the state's like, no, states' right, states' right. It's just a fucking shit show. And I can understand, Sophia, why you don't want to come here and you see like all the numbers and shit, because I feel the same just about the state of Florida. Like, my mom's
Yeah.
like, when you come into Florida? I'm like, the fuck never. And and
Literally
probably,
never.
like, I could probably go to Florida, see my parents, and be fucking fine. You know what I mean? It would probably be
Mhm.
fine, but I don't want to take that chance. Just don't want to.
Did you know that I used to visit the States?
Mhm.
I've actually been there
So
quite a
you've been
bit
here
in
before?
my
Okay,
life.
cool. Where'd you used to
Yes.
visit usually?
Washington, because I
Hmm.
lived on the border of Washington. You could travel all the way down to Spokane. I can even quote you at the Coeur d'Alene Casino.
Nice.
Yeah, if
So
you
you'd
know,
be
you
on the
know.
West Coast.
West Coast.
Yes, I've spent summer vacations in Washington. The vibe of the States now is not what it was in 2008 when I
Agree.
still felt like I could do that. Right?
That's true.
It's not like it was.
Mhm.
It did not always feel this like scary. And
Agreed.
when I came out as trans, even then I wasn't afraid to go to the States. It was specifically 2016 and post.
Yeah.
I I can't. Just every part of me emotionally says, nope, don't do that. That is not good. You know?
I guess what I can't wrap my head around is that just like this one dude gets to power in the US, he becomes the president of the United States, and all these people come crawling out of the fucking woodwork. And
A Kennedy is running for president as a Democrat. A Kennedy is running
oh wait,
as
were Kennedys
president
not
as a
always
Democrat.
Were Kennedys a Republican family traditionally?
They've been very. See, the thing was,
I thought
Also,
JFK
around
was
the
like a
time of the
Democrat.
Kennedys when the Democrat-Republican flip happened.
Yeah, so
Um,
also here's the thing to understand too. Republicans historically aren't like modern Republicans. There
exactly.
was a period where people refer to as the old Republicans where they would actually like advocate for people, and like really famous presidents who you think of as like good historical figures, you'd be like, wow, he was a Republican,
Because they were
because
for
it
the
wasn't always the
Republic.
party.
That
Yes,
was their
because it
point.
wasn't always the party of brain rot, lead poisoning, and sedition. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, just the fact a Kennedy is running for, he has a better chance of getting the nomination
Mhm.
against Biden than poor Marianne Williamson does.
It's
You
just
know,
so
but
many
that said,
layers.
on the short time we did visit the States, my sister did have somebody threaten her with a gun in traffic.
Well,
Mhm.
Yeah.
there you
So
go.
I'll never
it's hard.
forget something triggered this memory recently. I'll never forget, like, I was hanging out with this girl and she told me how this was right after the election. It was still 2016, and she had a Bernie sticker on the back of her car. She liked that I had a Bernie sticker on the back of my car and she was complimenting me on it. And she's like, "Yeah, I went to the gas station and I had a guy push me up against my car and said, I can grab you by the pussy now. It's legal." And I was like, "Excuse me?"
Whoa.
I was like, "What?" Sorry for the sexually explicit language. I should have put a content warning before that. But
Jesus.
it was just, as soon as that happened, everyone was instantly emboldened to
Right.
just let the shit flag fly.
Hmm.
Everyone started like
I
literally
want to say
flinging shit at
something,
each other. What's up?
but I also want to ask Scott, you good? You've been on mute for a couple of minutes.
I got thirsty. I got thirsty, and there's a lot of
Okay.
Noise.
there's a lot
Kitchen
of
noise.
motorcycles.
I just
And I
wanted to
didn't
check
want.
in
No, all good.
because it
All
is
good. All
heavy
good.
topics.
All good. We're good. I'm all right. I'm still here. I promise.
You're wonderful.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fuck, what was I gonna say now?
This looks orange.
It does.
Maybe
You know,
that's
I'm
why
glad I
I look
checked in
so
because that was more
orange.
important anyways.
You lost your train of thought.
Yeah, like I don't know. I do have hope for the future, and like no, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Part of the problem with Trump wasn't just that he enabled a lot of people to be their worst selves.
Mm.
It's that we tend to treat reality like it's really fucking Plutonian, right? Like it's black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And like
It's
everybody's
not.
already made up their mind. And like everybody is going to be held to their ideals in a vacuum. But the truth is, it's not exactly like you said. So with Trump, not only did he embolden a lot of shitty people, but those shitty people then acted as role models for impressionable young people who were exposed to it. And you have a whole generation of hate that gets seeded that way, right? So to me, people talk about like, you know, millennials are going to make a change when we get in power. But then I also hear the counterpoint, well, you know, a lot of millennials are just as bad as some of the boomers, which I don't actually believe. Being complicit with the system isn't the same as operating it.
Depends how
But it is a
brainwashed
fair
said
point.
person is.
But it is a fair point, yeah, at the same time, because if a person is highly complicit with trying to continue that system, they do not have clean hands in that regard, right? So it's fucking complicated. In a lot of ways, Trump not only enabled those people, but created more people through the alt-right, their recruitment methods, because you got to remember, the alt-right is very good at finding impressionable, young, isolated, at-risk men and radicalizing them, putting them like even more away from their families and support networks and people who would help them, and then making it so that the right wing is their only option through loyalty because they've already severed all of that person's social networks and like everything, right? And if you've been in with avowed racists, trying to get out also is hard, because if you get exposed as a racist and like have actively participated in that stuff, you can lose your livelihood, right? And this is not me sympathizing with people who actively commit racist things. It's just a simple statement about how people who don't know better and are impressionable and don't have role models can get pulled into some really fucking nasty shit.
Yes.
And part of the reason I'm why I am the way I am is because I had good role models. Even though like my dad was not a good role model for me growing up, I met people in my young 20s who helped me learn a different way to be, you know, Jay and JD. Not you, Jay, a different Jay, but
But
like they were so formative to me because they knew that I didn't have any good role models and they could see that in my actions. So they then behaved like one and I keyed into it, right? And I was very lucky that the people who found me were intellectuals who like to read all the sources and not just believe everything they see. You don't even have to be an intellectual to read all your fucking sources and know where your material's coming from,
I'm curious,
right?
Sophia. Do you think
Yes.
that there was a juncture in your life that you could have been radicalized either way?
Yes.
Like,
Did you not know that I was going to be a cop when I was a teenager?
no, I didn't. I wasn't aware of that. I just knew about the
When I
construction
was
thing you were
13
doing.
years old, oh no, I was not 13. So let me explain. When I was like 15 years old, I got caught smoking weed,
Mm,
right?
dun dun
And this
dun.
was after I had also had my mom find out I was practicing witchcraft when I was 13, which was a very big deal. And she threatened to send me to a shrink, as she put it,
Oh
right?
no, you were smoking weed
So
and doing
after
witchcraft? That's oof.
No, this is after. This is after. I started smoking
Yeah.
weed after because my parents had a divorce. There's a whole bunch of shit that was going on. There's a reason kids turn to drugs in their teenage years. I had a lot of adverse childhood experiences I will not go into on the podcast because it is way fucking too much for anybody to hear. But I dealt with it with drugs. And when I got caught, I panicked because my mom had already taken away basically everything from me when I was caught with my spirituality. Like she
Right.
curtailed a lot of my online privileges and social privileges. We did the same thing. She wouldn't even trust me to leave the house to see friends anymore.
Oh.
She acted like an absolute dominator. I had no, it was horrible, right? So in response, the next 2 years became me trying to show my authority figures how well I could conform with the rules of society.
Mm.
And it was during that period when I think it was like course selection stuff at school. I was like, I'll be a cop. Yeah, I'll keep the laws of society good, and I'll bust the drug users because that's what my parents would want from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that shit. And I was going to walk that path. And when I graduated from high school, I worked for my dad in construction for a few years because I needed to get fit to do
Mm-hmm.
it. I was already a black belt in Taekwondo by that time. I'd already been doing paintball and airsoft, right? So like
Mm.
I was straight up like
You're
preparing to
ready.
go into the fucking military and special forces after that too, by
Yeah.
the way. I was like planning on going into the emergency response task force, which is like a version of Canadian SWAT that's on the federal level that you either go through the RCMP or the Canadian forces to get to, or the other career option I had was to join the forces and to potentially try to push for JTF2, although that is an extremely elite group. Point being, I like literally trained with military personnel and like did drills with them in civilian time to prep for this shit. You fucking ask if there was a time where I could have gone the other way. I already walked the other way for a few years, and it was me getting weed blown into my face by a friend by accident when I walked into a room that actually made me change my path.
That's
I came out of a friend's room,
magical.
and they were smoking weed, and he blasted, like he had just exhaled there, and I had inhaled, and I was like, oh fuck. And it kind of like gave me a little bit of a secondhand high where it reminded me of what it was like and why I did it and why it helped with the traumas I had. And then I started concocting a plan. I was like, I promised my parents I would never smoke weed again, but I can eat it. So then, like, this would-be cop me, right? Black belt, doing fucking martial arts, fucking doing
eating pot brownies in your friend's
paramilitary
basement.
shit. I go to my friends and I'm like, hey, did your mom make a weed cake for us? And they're like, fucking what? And I'm like, well, I told my parents I wouldn't smoke weed, but I didn't tell them I wouldn't get high. And they started cackling.
That's
Because
great.
that's the kind of autistic workaround on the rules that I would pull. So we did it. And I started enjoying it. And I started like experiencing parts of myself I'd really suppressed for a long time, like wanting to be a girl, you know? So then eventually weed led to me realizing I didn't want to be a cop. I wanted to make my parents believe in me again. And a lot of that came from a really fucked up place of trying to appease these authority figures who didn't actually like provide for me what I needed to begin with. So that's why, like, and then I did acid when it was 2012. There was also shrooms and salvia divinorum in there. And during 2012, I realized I had to come out as trans. And so when I was 25, it was like 2015, I quit construction and I moved out to Vancouver and came out and shortly started playing Destiny thereafter. And then that's where I met Jay, and
Well,
Bob's
so
your
you
uncle.
weren't out for very, very long when we had really first met.
No, not at all.
That's interesting.
Although
We
now
were
it's been fucking 8 years. Jesus Christ.
So really, I think me and you kind of had our trans experience like simultaneously. It seems like it was kind of
a
running
lot of us did
simultaneously.
too, because that was in the generation where a lot of us were planning on coming out because things were kind of starting to shift in our favor. And then we had fuckface, God, what's her name? I hate her so much. I don't even try to remember her name. Jenner, not Kylie.
Caitlyn.
Oh,
Jenner.
Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
She came out and like it was a big deal. Shortly before that, Lauren Cox was on the
Laverne
cover of, I
Cox.
want to say Vanity, Laverne Cox, yeah, was on the cover of Vanity Fair, I want to say. And that gave us the double-edged sword of visibility because people realized that trans women were a part of society,
right?
All of a sudden. And then, thank you, Laverne Cox, you're blessed, we love you. And then Caitlyn Jenner came out and made a spectacle in the worst way possible out of all of it. And the door was flung wide open, and conservatives have been reeling since.
Muted.
I
was muted for that line, thank God.
I don't know. I guess I'll say it on the podcast. My podcast. I have a hot take / theory about Caitlyn, and some trans people might take it as like I'm being anti-trans myself, but I have sat here and wondered if Caitlyn Jenner transitioned for the views.
See,
was coughing when you said that. Can you repeat it?
I
Transitioned why?
transitioned for the views, like transitioned for the attention, transitions not because she actually is trans, but for the attention, for the publicity. I know it sounds bizarre.
Well, if she did that, then why wouldn't she detransition? As horrible of a term as that is, and how little it actually happens.
Don't know. I don't know, but that was just like my. I've been wondering about that because I'm like, I don't know how you come out as trans, as a trans woman after all these fucking years, and then you shit on trans people while you do it. That's what I don't understand.
Here's the
So are
thing.
you actually
Well,
like, you know, that's where I start to question. That's where it comes in for me.
So that's part of like what we were talking about with people being impressionable, right? So if you're raised in a society where your friends and family are rich and you've had conservative talking points echoed to you over and over again,
Yeah.
a lot of people tend to think that they can be on that conservative wavelength, but also be a minority and have their identity respected. There's a whole ass discussion about it online. It's called pick me. Like pick me people are the people who are a targeted demographic who try to be like, oh, look at me. I'm
one of the
not one
good
of those
ones.
ones that you hate. I'm not a flamboyant queer.
Like,
I act
yeah.
just like your regular cis hetero dude bros, right? And it's really fucking problematic, right?
Yeah.
I think that part of that why Caitlyn Jenner acted the way that she did is because she's a pick me trans woman. It's the simplest explanation and honestly the most reasonable one, right? Like, yeah, she'd make a lot of money from it too, and it's absolutely a calculated move to do it, and that's fine. But the reason she did all that shit is because she didn't want to lose influence with the spheres of conservative people that she grew up around, right? So doing that whole pick me shit makes it so she gets to maintain those social connections while also gaining the ability to transition, right?
That's
and she
sad.
does it at the cost of she does it at the cost of disparaging other trans women.
And she feels good about herself, I'm sure.
We do not claim Caitlyn Jenner. You can have her back.
You
we
can
don't
keep her.
want her.
Just like ship her in a box. Like, hey, just take her.
I will take Dylan Mulvaney any day of the week.
Oh, right. All these
Love
motherfuckers can't drink beer anymore because all these beer companies are like, oh, we can make money off trans people by pretending like we're allies.
I can't wait till we get till June and Republicans realize they can't drink
anything. Anything. It's gonna be wild.
Nothing is safe.
Pride Month is gonna be wild in the corporate world.
All of the gay alcohol.
Right?
So much gay alcohol.
Sorry to all the sober gays.
You want to know what faggots are gonna do next? They put a rainbow in the Bible. The Bible.
Don't you know we stole the Bible from God? the rainbow. We stole the rainbow from God.
When will the queers be stopped?
We could steal.
Who else managed to steal from God? Prometheus?
That's kind of badass, you know?
Yeah.
It's that tick-town sound. But what are we gonna do about the gays?
We also apparently bring tsunamis. We have the power to change the weather.
Hey, you know what? The more they start assigning mystical powers to us, the more we gain
the
it
more
by
powerful
social
we
consciousness.
become.
Right?
Yeah, so give us all of your woes
storm,
and laments. Let us gather them and wield them like a blade and drive it into the heart of the beast you call capital.
In my pony shirt.
In my pony shirt.
I think about that too a lot. All those strange mystical powers that they attribute to us because of our, ungodliness.
But if they all believe in that, right? So like this idea of like conscious. So like, all right, so I'm gonna start experimenting.
Thanks for the level
with
up,
it.
bro.
I'm about to go outside. I'm gonna take all my clothes off and I'm gonna go yell at the sky and see what happens.
Well, maybe keep your clothes on.
No, I'm taking all my clothes off.
I mean, is that
trying to make fire appear.
Getting naked. You're making me get naked.
It's necessary.
It is necessary. I want you to see me in all my
Fucking
glory.
I don't know why, but that's reminded me of this meme I saw when I first woke up. And it was this person like gardening in their backyard naked. And this meme said, if you garden in your backyard naked, your neighbors will put up a privacy fence for you free of charge.
Ooh.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Straight up.
All right.
Wait, are you in the Antifa sex dungeon?
It's probably where that came from. The person who posts that only pretty much posts like half naked men and stuff. So it's possible.
Are you on the Facebook groups? Are you in the Antifa sex dungeon? Because that's where I saw that.
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
It was from a witchy friend of mine.
Fantastic.
If y'all want a fun group to join, the Antifa sex dungeon, I'm telling you.
That sounds.
It's so funny. Sorry, just how you say Antifa when it started as Antifa, and how the alt right has turned into the right. Like the alt right is like, it's just. I just love how
I
like
say it as a parody.
we slap pronouns on things now.
I say it as a parody though, and that's kind of what the page is, because like the curve, like the whole conservatives,
I know.
who set this up? Antifa.
Antifa, like who
God,
is
for
it?
real?
It's Antifa.
Right, but
So
it's like this idea of like, when did we organize? When did we organize? Because I wasn't invited to the meeting.
Let them think that we do, though, right? Like, I'm telling you, the fucking power's in the eye of the beholder. If they think Antifa did it, we should, like, show up and be like,
we need t-shirts.
You will never stop us.
Antifa t-shirts.
It's like anonymous, but you don't even have to post vague threats. You just show up and claim clout afterwards.
Antifa did it. Hey.
God, not like anonymous fucking does anything.
Right, yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'll give them some credit.
They did.
They were the one that found the Discord server that all the spies got leaked onto by that military guy.
Yeah, I heard about that. That was spicy. Some guys like, oh, here you go. Here's some military secrets.
While they're interviewing the CEO of TikTok, because TikTok's selling all our secrets to the Chinese government. Our own government is selling secrets to the Chinese.
To everybody.
So do you want to know why that guy posted the top secret documents on Discord?
What is the motivation? Do you know his...
He did it because he wanted to win an argument.
Yep.
Bro.
It was a dick measuring
he was doing
contest,
the whole, no, I have insider information you don't know. So he's like, and they're like, bullshit, prove it sort of thing. So he's like, fine, fuck you, and does it.
Wow. Okay, so that does check out with the story that you heard then. I wanted to compare the story that Rue heard with the story that you have, and they're the same story. So now I feel like this is actually solid. So.
Yep.
Wow. Well,
when the two independent sources corroborate each other.
Good luck to that guy in whatever holding cell you're in now. Yikes.
I don't think it's gonna be a holding cell. Yeah. I think it's gonna be a fucking plot in a row, homie.
Yes. Godspeed.
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 Also, did you hear the developments in the Trump case in regards to that?
No,
I haven't heard much on it. As weird as it is,
it's really big. It's really, 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 really big. So
what else popped out?
The documents that he kept was in regards to fucking General Milley, okay? It wasn't just a random collection of documents that weren't seeded. It was specific ones that had information that would give enemies insight on the command chain of the United States military, specifically relating to General Milley. Yeah.
Oh. He was trying to take the whole
along with Ukrainian battle plans and the location of every CIA
some shit like that. Like it's actual like command chain knowledge, not like in 1998 we launched this satellite program covertly, like an old random document that would make sense just being there for oversight. So it's far less likely going to be a willful retention charge.
Oh. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all I hope is that his name isn't on the fucking ballot when we go to vote, because I might go feral, and I have just decided that. That's what I keep reiterating, is that if his name's on the ballot, I'm going feral. I can't promise what
You know,
I'll do.
that's a good motto for America. America 2024.
Going
Go
feral.
feral.
Go feral.
I'm taking
Go
notes from the
feral with
French.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're
Did you know
storming
that
Black
they stormed
Rock.
the
Storming
Black
Black
Rock
Rock.
headquarters?
Yes. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody in like North America who's hopeless. Oh, change will never happen. It's always been this way, even though it's only been this way for about 200 years. But it'll never change. The French people. Okay, let's go storm the headquarters, baby.
Yep. Oh, look, things are
Hip, hip.
changing.
I'm gonna
Oh,
3D
no.
print my guillotine.
Yeah, just gonna get my whetstone out and give her a.
Oh man. We are at an hour and 15 though, so a little over. But I know we missed the last 2 weeks, so that's fine. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
we
don't
have a
mind
lot
if
to
we go a
catch up
little
on.
extra.
Yeah.
We
And-
didn't record for 2 weeks.
I know. That was it was a back-to-back like
Goddamn
busyness.
secular holidays.
Yeah, and then Easter appeared, and there was a family thing to go to. Any sort of like concluding thoughts, or
I always
just
feel
anything we
uniquely
kinda...
privileged when I choose not to celebrate mainstream holidays.
We had
Because
the
I'm not stuck
choice
doing
of...
the Easter shit.
We had the choice to go or not go, but I was like, I know Rue's aunt cooks really good food.
I was just gonna say, it's only about the food.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
really why we went.
If I had people who are like, I got an Easter dinner, you want to come eat some turkey and pierogies? I'd be like, hell the fuck yeah.
Exactly, and
But
honestly, no one
I
even
don't observe
mentioned.
it outside that.
Yeah, like no one mentioned the word Jesus or Easter or at all.
swear,
Or at the
not
Easter dinner.
once.
So,
That's one thing I love is like the secular religious holidays where I
yeah.
get to eat.
Yep.
Because
Like,
that's
I'm
what
just
they
here for the
become. They're
food.
just like secular, formally religious holidays.
Yep.
Where it's like we just eat.
Yeah. We're just here for
feel
the
like
food.
also
Picked
living-
up 2 chocolate bunnies today for $3. What's up?
I also feel like living in proximity to family really changes us, right? Like
Yes.
prior to moving out here, if my mom was like, it's Easter dinner, I'd be like, okay, cool. Sorry guys, I'm hanging out with the family for Easter.
Yeah.
But like, I would never take the time to travel home for almost every holiday.
Yeah.
The major exception for my family is Christmas because they celebrate that really hard. I don't celebrate it with anybody besides my family, actually. Like I'm not going up to my friends and being like, let me buy you a fucking Christmas gift, right?
Yeah.
I'll say happy holidays to be polite and respectful, right? But I'm not like a big Christmas person, with the exception of I truly do love buying my nephews Christmas gifts because I don't get to spend much time with them. And if I'm like visiting for like a month and they get this memory of they don't get to see their auntie for a while, but then she shows up, they get a really nice gift from her, and like then she spends time with them. That's a lot different than someone who's just purely absent from your family and your
Right.
life and just reasons it away with like, sorry kid, I was busy.
You're the
know?
magical, mystical, weird aunt that pops up for Christmas with cool gifts.
Who literally makes movies for a living.
Right.
Yeah. So like I am on level 9,000 for cool for
Right.
for the kids.
For the kids,
right?
you're like, I'm the coolest I'm the coolest person they fucking know.
You know, also, yeah, especially because I'm good at video games, like really good at them, and I can shoot and do outdoors shit. So kids
They're
are
like-
always just like, but yeah, I definitely enjoy not celebrating most holidays, especially fucking Thanksgiving.
Well, yeah.
You're.
Yeah.
I think it'd be weird if...
You know, I don't need to go into it.
Besides the point.
I really...
No, that's good.
Oh, God, I hated Thanksgiving. I don't like it. No, it's always a drama.
It's not a good holiday.
No, it's just one. It's not
You know what we should
derived
change it
from a
to?
good place.
Turkey Day. Ain't nobody ever gonna get upset about Turkey Day. Fucking
That's
Turkey Day is
honestly
great,
what I
man.
call it.
That's what a lot of people call it.
Yeah.
Around here is Turkey Day.
Turkey
Hey,
Day,
it's Turkey
yeah,
Day.
is officially based.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do on Turkey Day? You eat
turkey.
food with your friends and family, and you
Yep.
feed the homeless. That's
Exactly.
a pretty fucking good holiday to me.
That's what I wanted to
Every-
do to it. I just want to turn
Yeah.
into like,
A charity.
you know, something to sort of, I don't know. I feel like it has to repent.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that kind of thing, like spending time learning what's important to you, what's not important to you, what are things that you should keep in your life, what aren't, helping those who can't help themselves. I think those are really good lessons for a holiday to teach, I guess. So yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah. I think one thing, if I could have my influence on society, I would specifically make holidays about giving to people who are in need, right? So like on what we call Thanksgiving, it's initially a holiday to celebrate settlers living in America at the expense of Native American people. What a difference it would be if like people took the effort to go feed homeless Native American people on the street during that day, right? Or like give to a charity or something like that instead of like putting on, I don't know, a giant. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the feast. I will never not say there. Enjoy your feast. So yeah, I just wish it was more hard baked to go help homeless people. Which shout out to the Sikhs because they are always doing that.
Mm,
I'm responding to
sure they do.
something.
You're good, homie.
Yep.
Yeah, Sikhs are super based. I would fucking
Oh, they're cool as
absolutely
shit.
throw down for them any
Yeah,
day.
they're cool people. On that note, we're at an hour and 20. I really
Yay.
have to pee, so I would like to wrap things up fairly soon.
Wrap it up.
Oh. Any concluding thoughts that anyone wants to share before we kind of sign off for today?
Not today, I don't think.
Not today.
I want to say something lewd, but I'm just trying to think about what's appropriately lewd.
What's appropriately lewd? No, I do think the title of this episode is definitely going to be Compost the Rich. I definitely feel like that is an appropriate episode title.
Hashtag Compost the Rich.
And we talked absolutely nothing about magic this episode. It was entirely
it was kind of just
social commentary episode.
Yeah, we have them. It happens. But
yeah, but just like it fits with the Compost the Rich title.
I don't know if anyone can think of any topics for next recording session off the top of their head or anything. If anyone has,
I want to get some guests scheduled because we've had a few on the backlog. I would love to either interview like Forest Horns or I don't know if Amy Blackthorn's a reality or just a wish.
I can't even get my tea order from her. So.
I know, we gotta follow up with her about a tea order. I don't know, maybe Forrest. I don't know if you're listening, Forrest. We'll only have one viewer. But yeah, we could get Forrest on the podcast next week if they're available.
That'd be tight.
So we'll talk about it in our Discord. We'll talk about it. What we kind of want to do as a topic.
I can certainly come up with a topic, or Scott's really good at coming up with topics too. I know.
Alrighty.
And I especially like it when Scott comes up with a topic because then they're really energized about it.
They're jazzed.
I'm also a little sleepy today. I apologize. I didn't want to. I didn't last night, and
it's the heat and allergies. Like it became summer, and there's a bunch of pollen in my fucking everything. So yeah, I feel that.
Also, finals.
Yes. Always.
You're gonna do great. I know it.
I think so. I have a good friend of mine who offered to like come over and tutor me for like technically I have 2 weeks. The way it ended up was there's a what is that called? A professional development week or whatever, where they're gonna all the teachers are in meetings, so we don't have class for one. Technically, it ends up in 2 weeks because the last week is kind of like the week you have for finals in general, and then you take your finals. But we ended up with 2 weeks because the way that they designed the semester was the professional development week was like the cushion if we had snow days or whatever, but we didn't have any. So now we get 2 weeks
to prep
for finals.
That's good.
Awesome. Yeah, my friend's going to come over. And, so I'm excited. I'm actually thinking I'm probably doing pretty good. I'm standing at a 91 point something. So
awesome.
You are fantastic, and I look forward to hearing about your success.
Thank you. Oh God, thank you.
On that note, go study. Hit the books.
I should actually.
Alrighty, everyone.
Alrighty, everybody.
We will see you all in the next episode. Hopefully, next week we'll be able to get together and record. Do we have anything scheduled? But we will see.
Peace, motherfuckers.
Till that moment. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.